Well, I kind of grew up here. I was born in New York and then moved back to moved to LA with my family when I was 5 and then moved back to New York when I was 18 and then I was there for 10 years and then moved back here now like a minute ago. I was in a long-term relationship and he was like, I can't be away from LA anymore. And then by the time we broke up, I had already kind of planted my roots here and I have a doggy.
I mean, there are worse, I don't want to say stuck, but there are worse places to be stuck than Los Angeles.
Yes, it's very true. And then I spend most of,
okay.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm half and half kind of. I'm in New York quite a bit.
Were you, I'm wondering, you know, I've got my like from up here biases about Southern California, and I'm curious, if, you know, like, well, I guess you're from there, so it's not as big an issue, but were you hesitant to move back to Los Angeles again as an adult?
Yes, of course. I have all the same feelings as you. I'm guessing.
Yep.
I love it very much here now. It took me a really long time to acclimate back. Or acclimate for the first time maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do better with the communication style in New York.
Yeah. The walking is nice, but
yes.
But I don't know. I've always I don't know. Our some of our biases might be similar in that the vast majority of my time spent in Los Angeles until I was an adult was because I had family in the Valley.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that colored it a lot. And then going back and visiting friends there, you know, as a adult with adult things and all of the cool stuff around. Obviously, my opinions have changed somewhat.
Yeah, you get to be an autonomous person here. I think I had a similar thing where I associated so much of LA with my childhood, and I was like, I'm not ready to. I kind of had to conquer those dragons. Yeah.
It's still though. It's still rough to transplant yourself across the country.
Totally. It was a big transition.
Like how big, if you don't mind my asking? I mean, I'm going to ask this eventually, but we're just going to get into it right off the top.
Yeah.
How large of a time period are we talking about between the move and the breakup?
We were together for like a year after we moved, but we had been together for a really long time. It was like an 8-year relationship, and it was not there's still so much love there. He's like a really great guy, and we share my dog, who's to my right. Yeah, and it actually works out great because I tour a lot, so he has her when I'm on the road.
Yeah. But was it? I mean, was the move and cohabitating, was that a breaking point for you?
You know, I don't know if it was so much that. I think we just kind of started growing in different directions, and I mean, clearly, yeah, whatever mentally was here for me in LA that I needed to look at, I had to look at. So maybe there is some linkage, but yeah, it was just kind of like we were together for all my 20s, and it was time. Yeah.
There are different things to romanticize in New York and Los Angeles, and
definitely,
you know, I was a bit older when I moved to New York. I did it out of college, but you know, New York is a nice place to live in squalor when you're still at a point in your life when you're comfortable living in squalor.
100%. I go back a lot and I spend a lot of time there, and I think there are many different New Yorks within New York, and there's a version of New York of being like a super broke artist, and there's a version of New York where people have money and are, you know, the grown-upness of it all, and I would be a broke artist if I lived there, so it would I don't know. I think yeah, I'm happy being bicoastal in this particular moment just because it's really nice out here. I think once you find your footing in LA socially, um, you can live a very beautiful life that has a lot of like fruit and produce.
Mm-hmm. Conservatively 50 apricots in the past week.
Yeah, it's like I have vivid memories of just being at like a grocery store in New York, and like there was like an avocado for like $3 and it was tiny, and I was like, I fucking what the fuck? But
yeah.
but it's got everything else. It's the richest, best place in the whole world too.
The Mexican food sucks too, but I think that and the
we
produce
have those.
probably
Yeah, we have those two things.
Those coincide. Yeah, I was dating for a while. I was dating a woman from outside Providence, and she didn't. It's not that she didn't like strawberries, but she thought strawberries were kind of meh. Was her opinion of strawberries? And I was like, oh, you've just never really like had a strawberry.
Yeah.
You've never been to the Central Coast of California.
Yeah, you've never had a strawberry.
One of those, like, the size of like a baby's head.
Yeah, they're real. They exist. I had one earlier today.
Yeah, I suspect that as far as sort of like finding your social footing, I mean, there's a little bit of that built in when you're already a touring musician and you've been playing around with people.
Totally. And I had come up, I like put my formative young adult years of music, making, playing out and all that was all in New York. So if I were to ever move anywhere, it would have been a reroute.
Was that so 18 years old, you move, I guess, back to New York, and was the plan just like, all right, I'm going to do the music thing. This is my shot.
I actually went to film school in New York, and
Did you go to the film school in New York?
I did. I went to NYU.
They don't. That's the thing about Los Angeles. No good film schools.
Well, that's not USC. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Our main rival. I know. I couldn't.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough for me here. No, I was like counting the seconds when I was going to move back to New York since I was like 8 when I was a kid. I was like, I don't belong here. I just knew that I had to get my time in New York. I also think that's like for an artist of any kind, living in New York gives you like the work ethic that you need, because it's just so harsh, but in a way that's like really unifying for everybody. I have just like these vivid memories of like pulling my Nord through like snow in like the Lower East Side, like going to play like cake shop and stuff. And I was like, I'm really glad I had to do that, because if you grow up here and you don't leave, you could like never really understand how anything could be difficult in that way. I think LA is difficult in its own ways. You need like an emotional thick skin to live here, but you need like a physical thick skin to live in New York.
I'm trying to do a better job at this point in my life where like I've established myself somewhat and I'm like doing okay financially, and I moved away city is to not romanticize the squalor too much, to romanticize the struggle too much. But I do sometimes go back and in the city, and you mentioned the cake. I've got a lot of nights that I remember at the cake shop, in the living room, and
I know pianos.
Woo! Yeah. But this is, and part of the reason why I'm circling around this, because I think a lot of this is probably pretty relevant to this cycle of songs that ended up.
Yes, very
on this record.
Wildly enough, I never would have imagined that, but it ended up being pretty full circle.
Yeah,
in that way.
These were like a certain chunk of these songs were written in almost 20
2000, 2007, 2008.
Almost 20 years ago.
I know. Gosh, I know. And I was like 20 then. So Life just slips on through.
Yeah,
your
but
fingers.
yeah, well, yeah, tell me about it.
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, especially in the city, and that's interesting. I mean, I'm curious if you've noticed that moving out of the city, obviously to like granted, the other largest metropolis in the United States, but moving
Right.
out of
Right.
New York to another place, whether time moves differently.
Yeah. I wonder too, as you get older, right? Time moves faster. And it definitely feels like time has moved much faster since moving back. I feel like recently someone asked me when I moved back to LA, and I was like, yeah, well, I just got back. And they were like, how long ago? I was like, oh, maybe like 11 years ago, 10 years ago.
That's the thing that really breaks my brain, and this is when I start to feel really old, is when I look at the dates from albums that still feel new to me.
Oh, 100%. I know. Well, all these records that I adore are having their like 20th anniversary
Yeah.
tours. And I'm like, wow, dude. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I still love them though.
Sounds like there wasn't initially any intention to revisit this set of music.
Yeah. I guess I started the record um and then had to I was recording it with someone, had to pause it, and then we had been writing a bunch of songs together, and then all of a sudden, I think when I was forced to um plan the record
Mm.
and think about what I was going to do to actually get it made, um I realized like, oh, I have these holes in my in the record. And then I had been talking to my friend Jonathan Rado, and we had been talking about all this. We have a lot of the same music that we like grew up loving, and we were talking about some of those early aughts, like music love affairs, like Amy Mann and John Bryan and Elliott Smith, um, and we had also talked about obviously we have that like Beatles foundation and 70s rock foundation, and we
And
have a
that
lot
just
of
humans occupying Earth,
yeah,
kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Right. I mean, the difference with Rado is that he can like execute so much of that and
Hmm.
translate so much of that. But yeah, and then I was like, I have these songs that I was listening to when I would go to Largo every Friday night when I
Hmm.
was younger, and got my driver's license for the first time, and the only time I've ever gotten it. I still have it.
Okay,
Anyway,
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah. Um, I would go there and I was so inspired by the John Bryan Friday night show. And I would go every week and it became this ritual. And then
Would Amy Mann have been playing around Largo at that time?
no,
No.
no.
Okay.
She was playing Largo but separately.
I see.
Um, but I loved Amy even before then. I loved Amy in high school. Very deeply, and went and saw her a million times, and I loved Magnolia too, and um those were big like touchstones for me. But when I was going to the Friday night Largo shows all the time, those were the songs I was writing during that time. So I think in talking about those songs together, me and Rado, I was like, I have all these like songs that I wrote during those like, I call them like the chordy times, because I was so into lots of different chords and like trying to emulate whatever was going on with all the passing tones that he would use. And um yeah, and then he was like, "Well, let's hear them." And I played them. They were real. I was like, they were horrible record. Well, no, I won't say that.
They had, what did they call it? What do they call it? It's got good bones, is what they
They
say
had
in
good
architecture.
bones. I did it was like a lot of like garage band stuff and like loops, and I was really embarrassed to show him, but he was like, "No, I think these are going to work really well." And they ended up kind of filling in the gaps of weaving this story together like inadvertently. I didn't mean for that to happen, but it did. It finished the thought of whatever those other songs that I wrote were trying to say.
So to clarify, there was a set of songs that remain on the album, and then there are old songs that are plugged into this set of songs.
Yeah, written around 2022, 2020, 21, 22, 23. I think 22, 23. Yeah. And then 2007.
I put this record on. I wasn't super familiar with your work.
That's very valid. On. Very few people are. That's okay.
Well, no, that's not true. But the first thing I put it on, I was like, oh, and the first thing I did was Google your name and Amy Mann.
Oh, came up?
I just Googled your name and Amy Mann. Yeah, because it really
reminds you of that.
Yeah.
That makes me happy, and I also hope she's not mad at me because
it's your own thing, but I was
that makes me very happy.
Actually, it would have been right around the same time that song Freeway that she put out.
I love that song. You got a lot of money, but you can't afford.
Putting on this record, that's what the first thing that like popped into my brain. And I think even just like down to the vocal delivery.
Wow. Well, she's definitely seeped into my bones at this point. Like it's now been more than half my life that I've like been really, really blown away by the way that she writes and the way the way that she occupies space as a musician and as a woman and a woman in music, and just she's so punk rock. She's so great, but I think it's even more punk rock to engage with the level of like emotionality and she really looks at like very nuanced, sad dynamics in people relating to each other, which I love because not a lot of people really want to do that.
It's funny too, because you mentioned Largo, and I was thinking of her, and it sort of made me think of her as being an LA person, but she also seems to kind of straddle coasts in a similar way. She also has a very kind of New York feel at the same time.
I could totally picture that. I associate her also with LA. I know also she came up in Boston, right? But definitely an East Coast communication style in her writing is what I glean. I've never had the fortune of hanging with her, but I hear great things.
The Elliott Smith thing is interesting too in reading about the kind of I guess the thought process or what you were sort of noodling around with when you were writing some of these songs, and that it sounds like you were, I don't want to say complexity, but you were definitely kind of going out of your comfort zone, at least as far as chord changes go.
Yes. Well, the thing about Elliott I always find is like, I'm like a layman in terms of I'm like I play instruments in order to write. I don't like
You're a film student.
I'm a film student. I'm not even supposed to be here. She doesn't even go here. Yeah, I always played piano, but it was never I always halted myself in the ways that like where I could have really pursued it. Like my piano teacher would try to get me to read music all the time, and I would just be really stubborn about only wanting to play by ear, and she showed me the basic inversions, and I was like, great, that's what I'll use. Thank you. Like, and just kind of I have this like cowboy chord sensibility, and the thing about Elliott and John Bryan, I mean, Elliott was so technically proficient and so unique in the way that his writing was his own like patterning that was very specific to him. And even me trying to figure out his songs by ear, which I do multiple times a year, always, forever, it always makes me a better musician. Not because I can play them exactly how he played them. I could only aspire, but like he has such an interesting way of looking at chords, and and melody, and every time I try to look deeper into what's going on there, I feel like I get better.
Something I hadn't really considered as far as the value in trying to pick up the song versus, going and looking at like the specific chords that he was playing and playing it and approaching it that way in sort of a more organic way, even if you don't quite even get the chords that he, the right chords. Like there's value in just that process of sort of like searching and learning and picking the song apart.
Totally. I mean, for some reason, I've always, since I was a little kid, been drawn to that exercise. Like this Beatles song, I would like cue up the CD player and I would run back to the piano and I would be like, what is like, well, I guess at that time too, there wasn't like tabs that I could just go online and find. I was very into trying to translate what I was hearing to what I was able to play. And I was never really perfect at it, but I could hear when something was off, and then you're searching for the thing, and then that feeling when you finally get the chord, you're like, "Oh, it's actually, whoa, how obvious, E major." Like, and then you're like, "But what a weird change." And then it starts to like kind of creep into your like sensibility more when you like figure out with your hands and your ears instead of like just reading.
There's something fascinating in about 5 or 6 months ago. For some reason, I went down this rabbit hole of just checking a lot of screenwriting books out of the library. I had no desire to write a movie script, but I was just reading about structure, and about sort of the standard like 3-act structure.
Yep.
And just that there is like there's this like this model, and it like every movie to a certain extent adheres to it, which is wild. And music, at least pop music, is similar, right? I mean,
yes,
that there's this huge variety of songs and music styles and musicians, and you'll still be surprised from time to time, but they're all still pulling from kind of the same set of ingredients.
Yes, the system. And then how liberating is it that you can do anything you want within that system? And then that's how it ended up happening for me. Was I got there and I majored in screenwriting, and immediately it became very apparent. It's like film production programs. So like it's very hands-on. You like are learning how to make movies, like run sets and be on a crew and crew on people's projects. And I just was like, oh, so like the budget has to be how big? Like you have to get this okayed? It takes how many years? And then I was like, oh, I love that I can go to my guitar and like with the fucking 8 chords I know at the time, and like just no one can tell me how to write it. No one can tell me how to sing it. And it's going to be 2.5 minutes long. And I can apply these structures that I'm learning through screenwriting. And I can use it, like the concept too of telling a story through image and through frame is like, that's still very inspiring to me. And I just used that, like everything that you see in the frame is part of telling the story, right? So like, if this were like a movie, it would be like this lamp, maybe there would be a clock above it. And it's like, what? Shedding light on time? I don't know. Like, everything is like a symbol.
That's the Kubrick disease.
Right. I know. It's horror. I mean, it's a curse that I have, the film school kid in me, but it's really useful in telling stories, and you can tell the story any way you want. And I just kind of translated that into my songs, and I started playing out all the time at like Sidewalk Cafe, and into the East Village I went.
Yeah, another sadly bygone.
I know.
Vestige of the Lower East Side.
I know.
Getting back to this idea of this, I guess almost unexpected, I don't know, narrative's the right word, or structure or theme that started to emerge with this set of songs? Sort of broadly and abstractly, can you describe what you landed on?
You're saying it, like, what the message is? Is that your
Yeah,
question?
when again, you've got this set of songs that you're recording,
Yeah.
you're bringing in
What's
these old ones. Suddenly there's this surprise bit of alchemy that's happening, and
right.
some sort of pictures emerging. Like, what
Yeah.
is that picture?
Yeah. It's funny because I've been doing a lot of press for this record, and this gets asked to me, and I'm, like, really bad at answering it because I do feel like the songs are like a set of questions, and I'm not sure that I answered them, but I do feel like the biggest through line that I've found in all of it is, like, even in the asking of the question, the answer is the holding of the question, and the fact that there's no specific outcome that we're going to be able to cling to in this life. Like, we're really powerless, and you can get into the intricacies of a relationship and you can wonder why people are the way they are, and you may not ever really have the answer to that question. That and is it worth still loving if you get hurt? Like, is it worth being present if there's war? Like, is it worth, like, and I hope the answer is yes, because it's the being here that makes is the only way that love can come through.
Yeah, well, at least in the second example, like, there's not a lot of alternative.
That's also part of it, is that, like, there isn't even an alternative in loving. I've, like, tried for years to not fall in love, and then it just happens to you. Like, you can try to control every element of everything as much as you want, but sometimes that is the suffering, and, like, you get humbled, like, by this crazy the thing that's bigger than us. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's about, I think the songs are about surrendering and doing your best as an authentic person and trying to remain authentic, um and with your heart open. And even if that means you have to keep certain people far away from your heart, if your heart's open, that's the safest way to be.
You spent years trying not to fall in love?
For sure.
Just in terms of like I want to be completely independent. I don't need to be in a relationship kind of thing.
I think both, but honestly, well, I mean, right now I I've been single a really long time, and I was just talking to a friend about, I honestly am, I don't know if I can handle it. Like,
Being single.
no, the other.
Oh,
Like, having
I
someone,
yeah.
like,
Well, but I went through something like really similar during the pandemic where it was just like a really long time of like, I mean,
mhm,
pure isolation is bad.
mhm. I
Um,
know, you gotta walk the
but
line.
yeah, and that's what big part of the reason why I moved out of the city. But um, yeah, I mean, there's something, I don't know, maybe there's something empowering in knowing that you don't need that specific thing, right? Obviously, like, you
Definitely.
need love in your life and you need human interaction, and you've got a dog, and that probably checks a
Yes.
lot of those boxes
Ugh,
off as
yes.
well.
The
But
cuddle bug.
it is in a strange way. I think when you're younger looking at it, it seems like almost a depressing idea, but when you're
Yeah,
living through it, it's like, "Oh, this is nice that," and, if it happens, it happens, and I'm not
yeah.
completely dependent on it happening.
Yeah, and, I don't wanna be pessimistic, but I've really it's really painful to, like, get in there with another person and, like, see each other's shadows, and, like, we hurt each other really bad, and even good people, like, and then there's this part of me that's like, "Can you, like, even handle that?" Like, and I think part of me during the making of this record was, like, looking at both of those things, and that isn't it a pity of it all that we break each other's hearts, but also like you have to surrender to the fact that you're not even in control of that. Like you're in charge of yourself, obviously, and you can choose victimhood pretty actively, but you also aren't in charge of when you fall in love. You're not in charge of who you love. You're not in charge of so many things.
I have had relationships in the past that were hampered or outright ended by the fact that like I end up traveling quite a bit for work, and that probably is something that I mean you're already bicoastal, but to add on top of that like it's your job to travel around the country, and that makes it, at very least, that makes it really difficult to build up that initial momentum.
Oh yeah, so hard. And then even being in a relationship that's at cruising altitude, it's hard. It's just hard to be gone so much. And then, it's not an original idea that musicians date each other because they get it. But that's hard. There's like two moving platforms at the same time. And like, it's all very complicated.
I've also I haven't always kept to it, but made a very loose promise to myself to not date another writer, for example, because I think there is a concern about dating somebody who has very similar neuroses to yourself.
Yeah. Yes. It's a special kind of cloth. We're all psychotic. Yeah.
I'm curious. It's funny. I was listening to the Weezer song, the song about Weezer, not the Weezer cover song.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm putting too fine a point on it, but I was like, oh, well, okay, well, she's blue camp now, but you switch back and forth, and I appreciate that.
I made a point to switch it up because I think it's an unanswerable, it's a non-binary answer.
It's probably pretty black and white for a lot of people, right? That's a lot specific of people. Question.
Well, I think that's kind of the point of the song is like we take these very specific stances on these things, but like honestly, what I love the most about it is that it's like this age-old debate that like it's different. It's different. They're different songs from the same era.
They were what, like a year apart, or
totally.
They were really close. They were what are they called? Irish twins.
Yes, I was just I think I love both in such different ways, and it totally depends on what you heard first, how you heard it, like all the memories you associate with it. And then also I was like just kind of reflecting on that period of time in my life as a teenager and how seriously we took it. It was a very important question. And you meet people now, and when you realize they speak the same language as you, you're like, it's still a pertinent question. And like, there are months that I have are Pinkerton. There are years I have that are blue. There are days I have that are, blue. It's like, it's different moods. Very similar moods, but yeah.
So, at least chronologically, where would you say you're sitting these days?
I don't know if I can answer. I love both so much.
Green album.
I know Green. I fuck with Green.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's different. It was the marking of a turning point.
But it is a pretty steep drop off. Let's be real.
Yeah. It changed. But is Only in Dreams on blue or
blue?
Okay. I love that song. I think that's like a fucking perfect song. I'm gonna go with blue right now.
Blue's like a Beach Boys record.
But
like an early-ish Beach Boys record.
Yeah. I fucking love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this has been an interesting part of growing older too, is like re-examining those like arbitrary stances that you took.
Yeah. And then you realize how arbitrary they were. Like I wrote that song because I was taking this like song seminar thing with Buck Meek, and one of the assignments was paint a portrait of like a time or a still life landscape, I don't know, of a time and place. And I had just received a text from someone who I went to high school with, and I was like, oh, that would be an interesting one. Like all those feelings and like those visceral memories I have of, like smoking weed for the first time or like hearing Weezer for the first time and the Vans that I wore and like how important everything was to me. And yeah, it was just it is a very specific time and place.
So it sounds like there's just value in the kind of the creation of like these specific exercises that put guardrails on what you're writing. Beyond that, have you found them to be useful?
Totally. I mean, I love what I ended up falling into. It was started by a friend of mine, Steven Van Betten, who's a great artist in his own right. But he, over COVID, a lot of the music community were kind of, obviously, we were very isolated. Only the musicians, though. I'm just kidding.
Hadn't heard about that.
No. But he put together this like basically Zoom hangout where people would lead like like kind of just give their stance and their outlooks on their songwriting methods. And then the idea was that you had to write a song every lecture. And I feel like it was 2 songs a week at that time. So I loved the concept of just being like, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to take in everything you have to say. And a lot of them were my friends. So I felt when it started, and then, oh, no, that came out wrong.
I'm like, what was that kind of feedback?
No, that came out wrong. More like now it's like, like Jeff Tweedy's leading it. And like when it started, it was much smaller. Oh my God.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. They who shall not be named. No, I'm just kidding. Still friends, but the idea of just getting your ego out of the way and being like, this is going to be stupid, but everyone's doing this. We're all going to share our song. It's been 3 days and we're going to just share it. And then by the end, you have quite a few songs, and it gets yourself out of the way. And you're not left to your own devices of these like kind of rules that you make for yourself. It's just an exercise.
Just the act of like, not the act of songwriting, but the act of like sharing music into the world sounds painful and difficult.
It's its own. I always say it's its own kind of artistic act and like grief and vulnerability and like weirdness.
I like this because at once it's like, yeah, you're vulnerable, and yeah, there's this understanding of like, okay, I'm going to release this unfinished thing that I wasn't able to like noodle over for a long time. But you also, I think maybe unspoken and, a helpful part of all of that is you can always say, well, I wrote it in 2 days.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like I can't, whatever like negative feedback I get, like I can't take it too personally because I wrote the thing in half a week.
And everyone else did too. So like, and everyone in that way, it was like a safe space because everyone was like, I'm fucking around and finding out. I don't know.
Did you get anything song-wise valuable from that?
Oh, tons. Yeah. Tons on my last record, Bystander, Blue vs. Pinkerton on this one, Full Story on this one, Kind One on this one. I love using it as a tool. But oftentimes, even if you start it and you write it in a day because it's due tomorrow, right? You share it or you don't, but you have it. And then you can come back to it and fully bake it if you want. And that happened with a lot of those songs.
Yeah, you hear about these projects where people are. I always think of that Bishop Allen record. I don't know if you know their stuff well, but they did that one. Oh, I suspect like as a fan of all of the music you mentioned, you probably would enjoy them.
Oh,
and
cool.
They were a New York band from that period, and one of the records they did was something like that, where I think it was like a song a week for like an extended period of time, and it was like, and it's a good gimmick, It's also like they might be giants thing to do too,
Yeah,
right?
I totally associate that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but you sort of, like, okay, well, yeah, maybe they wrote in a week, but yeah, I mean, they're
Right.
going back and really like making this thing better.
Yeah, and that's the best part. You have, once again, it's not a 3-act structure, but it's a pop song structure, and you're like, I want to make this the most delish possible Trojan horse, of a song.
Do you do any screenwriting still?
I haven't written a screenplay in many, many years. I had a psychic tell me that I should, though.
Oh yeah, wait.
Recently.
Okay, well, we're running close to time, but we need to dig a little deeper on this one.
Okay.
What was it? What was the? I guess what was the impetus behind? Is it psychic? Like, is this a regular thing for you?
Not a regular thing.
Okay.
Or I don't talk to her a lot.
I'm not judging. I'm just
Yeah.
curious. A lot of people do, like, they'll go to a psychic like once a week or once a month.
Right. I do have one psychic that I adore, who's based in New York and Maryland, but this was a different person, and she was just like, I'm seeing that you're like artistic in this other way, and you like came up in a different capacity than where you are like with your art. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, I see you like writing like maybe some sort of screenplay. And I was like, okay.
All right. What did you do with that information?
I took it and I put it in the back of my head, and I was like, I'm so tired. I gotta get ready to put this record out. But I'm thinking about what would I always think about that. Like, well, that would be a great movie, or like, what would the structure of that be? Or, yeah. Or just when people say really memorable things, I'm like, what a great line.
Do you have like a notes app or something? Are you keeping?
Yes. Ever going.
I mean, you would have to, just for the songwriting, right?
Yes. It's all one.